All right, so here we go. The teams are, these are the teams that I've had for the weekend. So MLS Amateur. So this is how my MLS team done. Pretty okay, not amazing. You can see kind of where it went wrong for us. So we got the captaincy spot on with Hani Mukhtar. And then we also got a great score from Alan Pulido. Erkin Kara didn't do anything. Now, this was a slightly tricky kind of game for him, really, going away to New England Revolution. So I wasn't really expecting him to get a decisive here. The only thing with Erkin Kara at the moment is that he's just, and I've mentioned this before, he's just not playing enough minutes. So he only played 45 minutes, right? Which kind of is not good enough, really. Because if he'd have played, more minutes, then he has more chance to get a decisive. The fact that he is only playing 45 minutes is a real concern for me. So I've actually already swapped out Erkin Kara because I don't mind if he doesn't get decisive, right? But what I do mind is that he's not playing like the full 90 minutes, or he's not even playing like 70, 80 minutes in most cases. So I love Erkin Kara. I think he's a great forward. But the fact that he's just not getting enough time on the pitch is a problem. So we've had to swap him out. However, it wasn't because Erkin Kara didn't get decisive, which is why we're not going to get a reward in the MLS Amateur. We got an okay score from Claudio Bravo. Given the fact that his team kept a clean sheet, this is quite a low score, really. So if you think about it, the AA is 13.3, and then 10 of that is basically from the clean sheet bonus. So he only really got 3.3 on his own, which is very, very low. So a bit disappointing, really, in a 0-0 to get this type of score. But we also got a really bad score from Kendall McIntosh. So I've made a couple of changes to my MLS Amateur, which I'll be showing you later on today. But we're not going to get a card award from that because we are too far away. We go onto the leaderboard here. We're sitting 1,052. So we really needed more decisives, basically, to get into that top 200. So a bit of a shame because, we really nailed the captaincy with Hani Mukhtar getting kind of 90 points. That's fantastic. He got a nice hat-trick. But it's just, it's a little bit wasted with the rest of the guys letting us down, to be honest with you. Let's have a look at the other team. So Cap 220. So this was our team for Cap 220, and you guys can see that we are not in line to win a card award here with a score like that. Donnarumma actually looked like he was on for a really good score in this game, until he then let in 2 goals. Now, he's still got a good AA, but we really needed him to get a score of 70, 80 points or more. Plus, then, we also needed someone like Ben Davis or Stevan Jovetic or Grylak to get a decisive. We basically needed one of these guys to get a score of 60 points or more. Now, what's really frustrating is that Ben Davis, we picked him because he had 2 games. The problem is that Ben Davis is not going to play the second game. So he's had to withdraw from the second game, which is tonight against Turkey, because his partner's had a child. So very selfish from his partner. She couldn't have waited until after this game week, right, to have had a kid. But he's had to return and be by her side, obviously, for the birth of his child. So, yeah, congratulations to Ben Davis. But it now means that we're not going to get an improvement from his score. And that's really what we wanted to pick him for. The fact that he had 2 games, which meant that if he had scored as low as what he did here against Armenia, then we could rely on him in the second game, hopefully, to outscore that. But we're not going to get that score anymore. So this is going to be the score for Ben Davis. Grylak did not get a decisive, but he done quite well. His AA was pretty impressive, actually, 13.3. So he done everything but get a decisive. So this actually isn't too bad a score in a Cap 220. Stevan Jovetic, I did think he was going to start, and he did start. But I said last week that one of my issues with Jovetic is that this was just such a difficult game against Hungary. I did not expect there to be many goals. And because I didn't expect there to be many goals, we kind of then expected a score like this from Jovetic, but then we were hoping for bigger scores from Hoyos, Grylak, and Ben Davis, and maybe even Donnarumma to make up for this score. So this score doesn't surprise me because it ended up being 0-0, right? So exactly what we thought. The only problem is that, getting a forward that has no decisive in a team where nobody else really gets a decisive, apart from, of course, Hoyos, because Hoyos always gets a decisive, right, guys? Just meant that we couldn't really exceed the cap too much, and we couldn't really punch too high. So you can see on the leaderboard here, this is a cap 220. and we exceeded the cap by basically 25 points. And we really needed to be getting into kind of like 270, 280 points, I think, to get a card award. So, yeah, a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, we knew this was going to be a bit of a long shot. So, nothing too disappointing at this game here. They have some good players, by the way, Slovakia. So, Lobotka's excellent. Rostovsky's excellent. Vavro's okay, actually. How much is Vavro? Wow, Vavro's £30. Wow. Okay. I thought that Vavro might be a bit cheaper than that. He's a very good player, good levels of scoring, excellent AA. He's got an opponent score of 81 against Liechtenstein, which is nuts, isn't it? Absolutely nuts. Good player, this, but I just thought it'd be a bit cheaper. So I think if you are on a budget, this is not going to be the type of player that appeals to you. Suslov is okay, not amazing. So if you were looking for kind of either a midfielder or forward, depending on the card that you're after, he could be one to consider here, because even though he's playing for Groningen, right, and they've been relegated, so you won't get a lot of utility out of him next season, this is probably the type of fixture where you would expect him to do well, right? Way better than his averages, just because of the opponent. They're so weak. So if you're probably looking for a really cheap type of forward, this could be the one. But at the same time, just consider... Wow. Hanko's a beast, isn't he? Hanko is an absolute beast. Very expensive player in the limited scarcity, but one that is definitely worth it. Still only 25, playing for Feyenoord. And his level of scoring is outrageous. Absolutely outrageous, really. Look at that. Complete nuts, really. When you look at how he does for Slovakia, it's not as good. But you have to say, going up against his opponent, you'd expect him to dominate as a centre-back. Not really the type of player. Like, even though I know of this guy and he has the potential to score really high, he's been quite a frustrating one, I think, for managers to maybe look at, because when you look at his performance from last season, in and out of the team way too much, just not starting enough. Just makes him not very viable. We're just going through some of the games here, and we're looking at this game right now. How does this game actually rank in the matchup? So this is the matchups tabs for Game Week 382, right? And there you go, look. Poland's fourth highest based on the win percentage. We just looked at Slovakia. That one looks also really good. Same for Norway. Haven't looked into Hungary yet, but we will look into that in a minute. Because even though I think this is attractive for Hungary, the problem with Hungary is that they're one of those teams, almost like Slovakia, where they're one of those teams that never really smash another team. And he says that, given that Hungary smashed England, right? But we don't talk about that. That didn't happen. We're gonna erase that from all our memories. It must have been a dream, right? When Hungary smashed England like that. But they don't really tend to do it. Now, that being said, Lithuania, are pretty poor. But I would still expect Hungary to win here. We're going to have a look at that in a minute. The Poland game, for sure, is just outrageously good. What's interesting is that, on average, forwards have been scoring 38 against Moldova, which I find a bit bizarre, because you would expect the forwards going up against Moldova to score better. Scotland, for me, have always been one of those teams that you should not trust. You should not trust when it comes to international football. And they've done amazing, right, to get that win against Norway. Georgia's a slightly different proposition, because they're a team that are, I think, a bit more physical than Norway. Not as technical, although they have some technicians for sure, like Kivica. Got this guy as well, who I was trying to talk about at the start of the stream. George Mikatauds. He's excellent, this guy. I love him. I think he's great. For an under-23 player, his level of scoring is so good. And he used to play on loan for Sorare, but he's actually contracted to Metz, and brilliant player. I love him. Probably one of the types of players that I'll pick up when I'm doing my under-23 team. His price point's a little bit too high still for me, so I would like to try and get him for Ideally, kind of like 20, 25 pounds, something like that. I just don't know whether his price can come down to that at the moment. But you can see here as well, he's the 19th best forward in the game at the moment based on his scoring, and the 53rd best player overall, which is pretty impressive for a Yes, his list price has gone up massively to £53.87. I was very tempted to pick him up last week and I didn't, but to be honest with you, I don't really regret that. Because Benedict Gimba I love as a player, but Benedict Gimba playing in the Bundesliga, ooh, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be very difficult for Heidenheim next year. They're going to need someone like him, but I don't think that his scoring is going to be able to get back to like this level in the Bundesliga. I think it could have got back to this level if he was playing in the second Bundesliga. I'm happy for him though that he's getting a move back into, or he's getting a move to a club that's going to allow him to play Bundesliga football. I think as a player to pick up, I'm probably quite happy that I didn't pick him up now last week, because I think if I had, then I'd probably be looking to sell him now. I would be happy, of course, like I would have a player that's now being covered in Sorare, but that was always going to happen because he's too good to play in the third division of the German Football League. I just really wanted him to move to another two Bundesliga team. But yeah, him playing for probably going to be one of the weakest teams in the Bundesliga is not a good combo. So I think if you have Benedict Gimba, yes, you are going to have a player now that's covered, but do not expect him to deliver great scoring like this next season for Heidenheim here. Now, this guy's excellent. This guy's really good. So Adrian Barisic. I like this guy a lot. Didn't do too well in the last game, but they got hammered 3-0 by Portugal. But this guy can hit some monster scores in Sorare. I like him. I think he's got a good future. He's only 21. Very, very highly rated youngster, this guy. Playing for Salzburg. Only 20 years old. Only 20. Oh, Baturina. Baturina's excellent. Yeah, this guy is really good. Which is why you can see his scores are amazing. His price is really high. This guy's fantastic. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on him this tournament. Baturina. If you didn't know about him, right, so Croatia's going to be an interesting team to follow, guys. I think over the tournament. As I mentioned, a couple of players here that are worth really considering. Like Kavlin is excellent, but he's really expensive. £51.94. I am expecting him to start here. I would like to pick him up, actually, Kavlina, because he had a great season, I felt, for Lokomotiva Zagreb. Yeah, I hope he has another good... So this is probably the tournament and the right opportunity to start building your under-23 goalkeeper list. So somebody like this guy here, if he has a great tournament, who knows? He could be getting... My teams for the midweek. So again, these are my teams for the MLS Amateur. So I think that is going to be the team. What we do need to do very quickly is go into the lineup builder. And then we're just going to see what the lineup builder suggests for Game Week 382 in the MLS Amateur. Which I'm pretty sure is going to say the same, right? So it's actually telling me Guzan in goal, then Kai Wagner, then Hani Mukhtar as a captain, Polido, and it's also saying Carlos Vela. So it's telling me Carlos Vela to target as opposed to Droizy. That's an interesting one. I wouldn't have said that with LA going up against Seattle. I would like to understand that a bit more. So Droizy's got this B rating. Carlos Vela has done quite bad, actually, at home in his last 5 games. Nah, I'm not going to go for Carlos Vela. Surely not. It's a really bad matchup. Yeah, really bad matchup. So this is kind of one of those instances where if you just use the lineup builder in Sorare data and you don't understand why it's picking certain things, then you would just go with a Carlos Vela here, right? but it's really important to know why the tool is suggesting that, and then to maybe think, okay, I get kind of why it's saying it, but actually it doesn't make sense too. So you can see here that like Carlos Vela has an A rating and Droizy has a B rating. And the main reason why the tool will pick a player is down to the pick score. It makes sense, right? The pick score is determining who's picked here. Now, Droizy has a B rating, but even though he has a B rating, I actually think that he has a way better fixture here. I think he has a way better chance to get a higher score than Carlos Vela. And I think there's more chance for goals as well in that game. Now, you can also see that his L5 and L15 are higher than Carlos Vela. And then when you look at the advanced here, the matchup indicator puts Carlos Vela's matchup at -12 because it's going up against Seattle Sounders. It's really difficult. They're a really, really good team, very strong team. Even though they have the home game here, LAFC, they've not been in good form. Seattle Sounders have been in better form, and they're pretty difficult to beat. Whereas Droizy has a home game here against Dallas, and Dallas are decent, but the home game advantage here against a slightly weaker opponent, and he has a slightly better matchup indicator. It's not amazing, but it is a slightly better matchup indicator. It says to me that Droizy should be in here rather than Carlos Vela, which is why we are going to leave it. Let's keep it going. So that's the team for Capture 120. I don't think it's going to hit a card award. We might have to double check to see whether Matt Sells is playing tomorrow. We're taking a risk with Marlon. Never sure whether he's going to play or not. If he plays, he has the potential for us to massively outscore the cap here in Capture 120. I'm really curious and keen to see Bothheim play against Switzerland, one of my favourite under-23 players at the moment. And then Greilach, done okay in the last game. He didn't get decisive, but he's getting there. We're seeing an improvement in his scores. Keep it going. So we need to go back into match day 5. All right, we need to keep it in match day 5. This is how I've done in match day 5, guys. So we've got a 3-2 prediction against Dallas that was wrong. It was 1-0. However, we predicted that Portland would win as the home team. Then we also said that LAFC would win against Houston, and they lost 1-0. So that was, we got 0 points for that. We got the correct, we got the correct score here. So we get 223 points, which is great. We get boosted points here because we correctly predicted that New England would win at home and it would be over 2.5 goals. We also said that there would be over 2.5 goals here. Now, we got it wrong because we thought that DC United would win when Real Salt Lake won. But we got over 2.5 prediction right, which is why we get 51.3 points. Nashville, we got that correct. So you guys might remember that Nashville, we said that Nashville would be 2-1. And then I said to you guys, you know what? I feel like that's maybe going to be 3-1, isn't it? So we switched it to 3-1. And boy, am I glad that we switched it to 3-1 because we then get like the correct score, 100% of 331 points. Then we also said this would be 2-1. Yes, it was 2-1, but it was 2-1 to LA. So we still get some points here. This one, look at this, guys. It's very rare that you see a 0-0 in the MLS, to be honest with you. I really expected this game to go crazy, which is why we kind of like made this crazy prediction. And it went crazy for the wrong way. So it went crazy, but like as a 0-0 crazy. So didn't expect this at all. Didn't expect to draw. I'm pretty sure most people who are playing Pookie did not expect this to be an under 2.5 draw, which is why, again, we got it wrong. There's probably loads of other managers out there in this game week that got that one wrong too. So that's not the one that's going to cost us, actually. And it's quite nice to get that one wrong because you know that most other players would have got that wrong too. Now what we need to do is we need to do some predicting for the last 2 games to double check that we 100% want to do this because we've got Charlotte to win 2-1 here, but actually I don't think so. I think that we need to look into this because if Charlotte don't have Swiderski because he's on international duty, and then they've also got a couple of other absences, then I actually don't think that Charlotte can win this game. When I consider this, right, when I consider the huge difference between 436 points and then 219 points, when I do think that New York are going to score and I do think that Charlotte are going to score, we might as well just be a bit brave here and risky just think that maybe Charlotte here, some of the fringe players who come in, have a bit of a point to prove with some of the absences, and that they then end up squeezing a goal, a second. I'm really torn, guys. What do you think? What should we do here? I'm torn between this, right? 2-2, 2-1 to Orlando, or 2-1 to Philadelphia. And the reason I'm torn is that I think that the scorelines could literally be either way. It could be 2-1 to Philadelphia, and I think there's a realistic chance it could be that. At the same time, I fancy Orlando to at least get 2 goals here. Especially that they don't have Andre Blake, Philadelphia. 2-2 is a bit of an unusual outcome. It doesn't happen very often. Has it happened at all, really, when they've played before? Not really. It has happened here. So how many times have they scored? Look, 2 here, then 1 here, then they didn't score here. Then 2, then 1, then 2, and 2, 2. There have been some instances where they can score a lot of goals, actually. Yeah, I think we do this, isn't it? We could regret this, actually, guys, to be honest with you. We could regret this, where we could regret that by not picking, say, 2-1 to Philadelphia or 2-1 to Orlando. We have a look at the correct score market as well, very quickly. I mean, look, 2-2 is not out of the question, by the way. Look at this. How crazy is this, right? So the 1-1 is at 6, right? Then the 2-1 is at 9. The 2-1 for Philadelphia is at 10. And then the 2-2 is at 12. So we are kind of... This is how difficult this is, right? Because there's not a big difference between the price here for 2-1, Orlando win, or the price for Philadelphia to win 2-1, compared to the 2-2. And we think realistically that 2-1 could actually be a scoreline that happens from one of these teams. So 2-2 is not too far away. That's quite useful to see that, actually, because it makes me feel like there's a lot of value in backing 2-2. Because I do feel like both of these teams are capable of both scoring 2 goals. I just don't think that any one team is capable of scoring 3 goals against the other team in this specific fixture. And they have some issues as well, because both of the goalkeepers, basically, for both teams are not playing. So sometimes when that happens, it's like you're not playing your number 1 goalkeeper, and then a backup comes in. Sometimes what that means is that you can see more goals than usual, because they are not used to playing, right? I think that's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to lock in 2-2 here. We're doing it. We're committing to it. 2-2, guys. So what I'm working out here is, like, when we get our energy refreshed, right, we're going to get 141. And so I'm going to need to spend 20 of that 141 in the Brazilian League. That's then going to leave me with 121. And then I'm then going to be able to spend about 100 in match day 6 if I wanted to. But then match day 7 and match day 8 start within a week. So then match day 7... Oh, wow. So match day 7, I think, is the one we're going to have to skip. And the reason being is that this starts on Saturday and then it ends basically on Sunday. So all 10 games happen within 2 days. Whereas I think with match day 8 here, starts on Sunday. Oh, it starts on Sunday. Yeah. Starts on Sunday and then it ends on Saturday, July the 1st. So by the time we predict a couple of these, we can then get our energy refilled to then do these. Wow. Yeah, so that's why it's really useful, guys. I'm not kidding. That's why it's really useful to take the time to plan what you're going to do with your energy, right? So if you were completely confused by that, let me explain it again for you. Because this is really helpful, and this is where strategy comes into it when you're playing Pookie. So we have 1 energy, right? That's all the energy we have left over since we've been making our predictions. You can see here, It says predictions cost 10 energy since the full game is live, right? 10 energy. So if we get 141 energy as our maximum and it gets refilled every Monday, so tonight at about 12, actually 1 minute before 12, we'll get our energy refilled to 141. It then means that we can make 14 predictions, right? Within a week. We know that we have 2 games that we haven't predicted fully yet in this league. So we're going to have to spend 20 energy because it's 10 energy per prediction. We're going to have to spend 20 from our 141 that we get tonight in the Brazilian League to complete all our predictions in that. That's then going to leave us with 121, right? Now, if we then want to play another league or get started on the next match day, we want to do the USA League because that's the main one that I want to be competing in because it's working well for us. Look, we're 37th. Our last match day was 30th. Look, we finished 30th. We finished 52nd, the one before that. So this is kind of like my area. I like the USA. I like the MLS. This is the league that I know that we can score well in. So what it means is that if we have 121 energy, we can fully predict in match day 6, right? Because that's going to cost us 100 energy to do. And this next match day starts in 2 days' time. Then it leaves us with 20 energy left over. And then we have 2 match days, which are starting in 5 days. And there's an hour. Look, there's 1 hour between the two. So we cannot compete in both of these. We have to choose which one we want to compete in. Now, if we wanted to compete in this one, we could do it with the remaining 20 energy that we'd have left over. However, we would be wasting that 20 energy because this match day 7 only runs between June the 25th and June the 25th, right? Technically, it's June the 24th, right? Even though it's kind of technically, it's technically like the other day. So what it means is that like if we spent our 20 energy in here, we would not have enough time to get our energy refilled to then make the rest of the predictions in here. However, if we decide to play in match day 8, we could predict 2 of these games, but then we're going to miss 2 of these games because we're only going to have 20 energy and we would need 40 energy to fully predict these games on Saturday. So we can compete in match day 8, but it means that we're going to be making a total of 8 predictions rather than 10 in this league. Because then after these games are finished, it's then Saturday, July the 1st, right? So it's then a week until the next match day, and then our energy will refill on Monday. So then we'll get new energy and we can then completely... What we'll probably need to do, I think tomorrow, we'll revisit these score lines, these predictions, and we'll kind of see if there's anything else that we need to tinker with. I think for now, we've pretty much covered everything we need to on Pookie. I think. We've done our leveling up of our Pokeball. So we've got our rare Pokeball at 29. Ideally want to get this rare Pokeball up to level 30. So by the time the MLS League finishes, we can then get this up to level 30. When does that finish actually? June the 22nd. Oh, we've got to wait like 3 days basically. Ah, that's a bit of a shame. So we've got to wait 3 days. Reason I say that's a bit of a shame is because if that had been finishing before the start of this one, then what it would mean is that we would then get our rewards, right, from this match day. So our park and any matches that we win, hopefully, and then any PXP points, right? Then we could level up our rare ball, and then it would then mean that our rare ball would be even stronger to go into match day 11. But by the time this finishes and the time we then get our rewards from it, we're going to miss a couple of games because this one here starts on Wednesday, right? These 2. So yeah, we'll potentially miss this one. These 3 actually. That's okay though. We've got the predictions in. I guess we've just been a little bit greedy here. I just wanted to see if we could kind of level up our Pokeball, our rare one, to make it even better. So we get even bigger points, right, from these first 3 games, but totally fine. Guys, do not forget that the next drop on Pookie is starting in, or dropping in 1 day, 21 hours and 46 minutes. So this Wednesday, make sure you're there for it because there's only going to be a limited amount of supply. Again, they will all sell out, especially the rares as well. So if you want to start earning cryptocurrency just from predicting football scores that it takes you literally 2 minutes to do, then make sure you pick up a Pokeball. All you need to have is at least one common Pokeball to start earning cryptocurrency. But the bigger and the better Pokeballs that you get, the more boost that you get from them, the higher you can level them up, and the more returns you can get from them. So yeah, get involved in them, guys. I'm loving it. You can see as well, as I say, that we're doing quite well in Pookie at the moment. We're currently 37th. And we're looking to try and hopefully sneak a top 20 finish, which will then give us a nice return of crypto for the week. Plus, also, we're going to start to compete in Brazilian League as well. And I'll be looking to add more Pokeballs. So these are my Pokeballs at the moment, which I quite like. We've been mainly leveling up the rare one, but we could also start to level up, I think, a couple of these commons. Once we get this rare just to a little bit more of a higher level, then maybe we bring in some more balls, maybe even like another rare, actually, would be great. I think we're going to need a bit of time in order for us to do that. Right, that's Pookie. We're going to come